I'm Dennis Cole, and my book is written by Dennis Stephen Cole. That's my full name. And why did I write the book? That's a great question. Why did I write the book? Because I was pregnant. I was pregnant with the book for many, many years. It goes back to 2005, as I remember it. I was on my tour. Dramatic Christian Ministries began in 2001, and it really broke out in 2002. And by 2004, we moved to Albuquerque, New Mexico, and I was already on a tour in South Bend, Indiana. I remember I was in the basement of a nice family that was taking me in that night. I was going to do a church that Sunday morning. And about early morning, just the very end of the night, early morning, I was in a dream state. I was so in the zone. I was in this city. It was a new New York City. It looked like New York, but it was completely different. The tempo was crowded, but there was no stress. I was with my wife, Wendy, and we saw theater, we saw an acting company. I mean, how did I miss that? I lived in New York all those years. How did I miss this section? It was in the Broadway Theater District, but a little bit different. It was, the buildings were old, but they looked new. People were singing in the streets. They were happy. It was like, and there was no cars. Imagine that, no cars in New York City, and it's like a walking mall. And I'm here, I'm saying, this is wonderful, and I'm saying, well, I can't do the church I'm planning to go to this morning because I'm in a new world now. It was that real to me. It was an out-of-the-body dream. It was very real, and I had recurring dreams of this new New York City. And I began to write, take notes of a book, which I don't know when I gave it the name, Journey Through the Narrow Gate, but I knew it was a journey through a new city, and it was how the book began, why I wrote it. It was alive in me. Is the book an autobiography? Is it fiction? Is it allegory? It's a little bit of all three in a way. The autobiographical part is, well, there's New York City there's Boston, there's Fenway Park, there's Carl Yastrzemski, there's the impossible dream team of the Red Sox in 1967. These things really happened to me. I mean, Woodstock, New York is mentioned. These things really are part of my life. But the book is pure fiction. As a matter of fact, I was stuck in writer's block. And my good friend Lawrence Kimbrough, what a kind man, Lifeway Press in Nashville, Broadman Holman, he's just a great editor, and he helped me. And he convinced me the book needs to be theater and it needs to be fiction. And once I internalized what he said, I wrote that book in September of 2015. That's when I really wrote it. For about 6 months into January, February of the next year. And then I edited and re-edited it. And then that's how that happened. But it's an allegory, it's fiction. The allegory, by the way, is theater as the Bible. When I go out and I do a Sermon on the Mount at a church, I'll tell people that the Bible is alive, the Bible is active, interactive, and it's live theater. And the Bible characters will talk to the main character, David Cohn, and he has a relationship with these Bible characters. David Cohn is the main character, and I'll tell you more about him now. He is from Scarsdale, New York. There isn't much about Scarsdale, just that he's from there. He was a good athlete in Scarsdale. I myself am from Westchester County and born in the Bronx. But David Cohn's a Jewish man, and he has a lot of funny remarks about his father drumming into him that he's Jewish. He had 10 conversations with his father, or something like 12 conversations with my father. 10 of them were at Yankee Stadium, and every one of them he told me I was Jewish. that's how he processes. He's very neutral when it comes to faith, when it comes to God. He's not against, he's not for, he doesn't really track with it. But he's in love with Miriam. Miriam is the love of his life. And David Cohn's book, this book, Journey Through the Narrow Gate, is David Cohn's regret, his passivity and his regret, and then overcoming passivity as he encounters the Bible writers, the Bible actors at the Narrow Gate Theater. The Bible actors and the Bible writers are the same. It's the same entity. The inside of the book is that the Bible writers that you're familiar with, Jonah, Jacob, etc., and so on, they're really Bible actors. Every one of them is a Bible actor. So the insight, the allegory, is that acting and writing, the Bible writers are men of faith, and they're people of faith. And the Bible actors and the Bible writers are the same. And they're a lot like David Cohn, because, well, let's face it, I'm the author, so they also are very introspective. They're very introspective, they're very in the moment, they're very emotional but very expressive, very what I would call C students. Not A students, not B students, but C students. Not the letter C, but C. They're all seers. They're lifers. They experience life. Their theology is not heady. It's very experience with Jesus. We experience with God. And from that experience, a theology begins to unfold from the inside out. One of the great insights of the book is objective learning disorder, which is another funny line. David has a lot of funny lines. He has a lot of funny things that keeps him from going insane with all the pain he's in. And objective learning disorder is one of the problems that are going on in the world. But the Bible writers don't have that. They're teaching David that we've got to go back to a subjective understanding. Go back to the experience, an experiential encounter with the living God, and then a theology forms. And the Bible is fixed and forever, but the Bible is improvisational. It's to be breathed and lived out, and to be internalized. Not memorized, internalized so it can play. So you can rediscover Jesus, rediscover God, and find family. The style of writing that I employ, and I've had a lot of people read it, I've got Amazon reviews, they'll tell me that David Cohn is extremely expressive, which I'm glad they said that, because he is. He's very expressive. He feels everything. He's a very feeling man. And he has a lot of regret, as I've told you, but the Bible writers are very similar too. You get a Jonah that feels everything. You get Luke, who's extremely imaginative, and he sees the Bible as media. And he talks about the real media. There's real insights into the sociological, spiritual, political world we live in the context of the Bible writers just talking about media and in the media in Jesus' day, and great insights into the times we live in, all coming from the Bible writers, and David Cohn, sort of neutral, listening and asking questions. One of my favorite chapters is meeting Jacob, and they talk about their wrestling careers. And Jacob wrestled with God, and of course David was a wrestler in Scarsdale. a lot of fun things like that. Oh, I would say the statement that I'm making to the reader is that why don't you, whatever your starting point is, why don't you consider rediscovering God? I don't care if you're an insider in Christian faith, or you're pure Jewish, or you don't know anything. Why don't you just start from where you are and discover and rediscover the real Bible, interactive. And you can really discover the real Jesus, who is horizontal as much as he is vertical, and he's interacting with you. He's with us, he's hanging out. In fact, the greatest thing that we do to make him sad is that we don't hang out with him. We treat him like he's in the other room. We talk about him in the third person. And we come up with theologies that sound right, but they have nothing to do with fellowship and relationship. David Cohn is finding fellowship with these Bible characters, and he's finding fellowship with the people who were at the Narrowgate Theater that day, and he's laughing and crying, and he's finding family. He's a family wrecker, and he's finding family. He's finding a forgiving God who is into this whole fellowship. It's amazing. The Bible, the book calls it the New Reformation. It's a new reformation for our times. The second coming of Jesus is soon, and revival is a byproduct of the joy that he's right at the door. He's knocking. He's not in the house yet. He's on the property. You can hear his voice. That's what I want to say to the reader. It's really cool. The greatest passion I want from writing this book is that I would find a new childhood. Now, I'm older than I've ever been right now. It's amazing how that works. This is the oldest I've ever been right now, this very second. Yet, I can have a new childhood because I'm older, because I know how it works. You see, in eternity time, the book talks a lot about eternity and time, connecting. And eternity time is like forever young or forever new, forever in the first person, forever now, forever this very moment. That's eternity. And that is exactly what I would want for the reader, for myself, to stay in the present, experience more eternity in time, and continue to find a new childhood even as I get older, especially. The book is published by Advantage Books out of the Orlando, Florida area. info@advbooks.com is the website. You can buy a book right off our website, info@advbooks.com. You can buy the book off Amazon. You can buy the book off Barnes & Noble, bookstores all over the world. And you can buy the books from me, which is one of my great pleasures because I like signing books for you. I love signing books. So that's how you get the book. And I would enjoy the final byproduct of this book is what I'm experiencing now. Just as when I was writing it, it was an end in itself. I didn't have to have anybody read it. I was getting such pleasure with God and with the me that I was finding out. Losing yourself in me, Jesus says, I'm finding yourself. I was finding me. It was great. I love it. I've been acting for all these years, and now I'm writing a book. I've written a lot of plays, now I'm writing a book. I loved it. But I would like for now, the book is published, it's out there, I've edited it so many times. I would love to see a fellowship form, a fellowship initiated by people who read Journey Through the Narrow Gate. I'm putting out a little study guide or interactive study guide, if you will, interactive discussion is becoming available for people locally, where you live, where other people live, all over the world. I hope one city at a time, to have an interactive study through Journey Through the Narrow Gate, because it's got something in there that David Cohn found. I believe David Cohn is generic to all of us. He finds fellowship in the Bible, and he finds fellowship with people. He finds family in the Bible. He finds family with people because he finds it in the interactive Bible. And David Cohn triumphantly, through sorrow and then through hope and then joy, he triumphantly breaks through and walks through the narrow gate. I want to thank you so much for making this time and taking this time to let me explain the book to you. And enjoy your journey through the read. And God bless you. Thank you very much.